have to beat up on him until he do know.
You got any questions for him? How to shoot
None.
Jay? I mean, anything?
He's shy.
You're not shy, man, are you?
Maybe.
Ain't
Sit here
nothing
while
wrong with
Doug
that.
can ask him a couple questions and learn a little bit.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So what grade you in, man? 8th grade? What you, 14?
Hey, Dana.
Yo.
Yeah. You want to do your little intro?
Oh, yeah, sure, why not? All right, well, hey, I'm Justin McTeer from BleacherReport.com, here with Dominique Wilkins, the Human Highlight film. Is that okay if I reference?
Hey,
I mean,
call me what you want, just call me.
It's a good nickname. It's a good nickname. Asking him a couple questions at the HP Windows 7 promotion here in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, Dominique, a couple questions, okay? First, actually, the first thing I want to know is, do you have anything for like wrist cramps after you sign that many autographs, or is it
a lot of ice, baby.
a lot of ice?
A lot of ice.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, I got a couple quick questions for you. First on, I know that you're with the Hawks for 11 seasons, I think.
11 and a half seasons.
11 and a half seasons, and now you're on the other side of things in the management, of the team. How has being involved in the management of a professional team changed your kind of perspective of the game and then the whole league and all that?
Well, it's basically the same. You're just doing it in a suit instead of a uniform. But that's the corporate side is different in the sense that you're dealing with people's lives, and you see the game from a different perspective. You see all the mistakes that people make. You see all the good things they make, and things when you're playing, the game moves so fast. You just don't notice a lot of things that happens on the floor that a coach sees, that sometimes the educated fan sees. But it's a different perspective when you're in the managing side instead of an actual player.
All right. Well, talking about when you were a player, you were part of a lot of all-star teams. You had you had a great career. If you could pick one thing from your career that would stand out as kind of the most memorable moment, accomplishment, whatever it would be, what would you say?
That's a hard question. I mean, because it was so many memorable moments. It's just hard to pick one thing to say stands out more than the other. There were so many things that I was able to accomplish and witness. But I think the thing for me that stands out is the type of talent that I played against night in, night out, the legends that was in the league. And basically, I played against a legend every night. That whole era in the late 70s, early 80s was unbelievable thing.
Well, I know you mentioned that, and you're part of what a lot of people would consider to be perhaps the greatest era of the NBA in terms of all the legends that came out, all the great teams. I mean, if you had to say, what would you think is the thing that's the most different about the NBA today versus the era that you played in?
Well, I think guys played more of a true position. Back when I played, a small forward was small forward, a power forward was power forward. You didn't play both because the power forward position had a license to kick your butt, basically. And the game was very physical. I think the physical aspect of it, some of it's been kind of taken away. Some of the rule changes, but the game is played the same. The game is played the same. You can't change that, and I think those are the most significant things that's changed from the days game to when we play. I would have never thought about playing power forward.
Well, you're talking about now, obviously players today maybe play more positions. It's not quite as defined. But if you had to pick one player from right now that you feel like his game is the most similar to your game, who do you think you would pick?
That's a good question. Probably a mixture of guys. I would probably say a little bit of Wade as far as how he attacks the basket. Vince Carter, how he elevates his game to a different level in the air. It's a mixture of guys. I would say just one guy that I would actually say pattern himself after.
Now,
or they pattern himself after me.
That's true.
The way you want to look at it.
Well, I guess this would be the $1,000,000 question about those guys, though. Is if you had to say that at your prime, they're and I'm not saying you're not in your prime, right? I'm saying, do you think you could take them?
You really want me to answer that question?
I do.
That's an unfair question.
This is a Dominique Wilkins, Dwayne Wade, SmackDown, right? No, I'm just.
Oh no, we
no.
play different positions. He's a two guard. I was small forward.
Right.
And I love Dwayne Wade. I love the way he plays the game. Kobe, LeBron, and those type of guys. They play the game on a different level.
We'll say Vince Carter. There you go. Love it.
Well, I don't believe in comparisons, but I look at the era I played in. And like I said, when you have to play against a great player every night, that defines who you are. If you can compete on that same level night in and night out, that tells you where your place is in the whole, I would say, the history of the game. You put yourself in a very high spot. I mean, you can compete on that level against the greatest player every single night, and you can play just as good or better. That really defines who you are as a player.
Absolutely. So
you asking me what would I've done? Well, put it this way here: if you couldn't touch me, instead of having 25 or 30, I'd probably have 40.
Yeah.
If that put it in perspective for you.
So with the game being less physical today, and not less physical.
But the thing is, the game is always played the same, like I said. But when you can touch someone, back when we played, where you can put your hand on a guy's hip and use your elbow and just throw him off a little bit, makes it a little harder for him to score.
Gotcha.
But when you can't touch anybody, it's a whole different game there.
All right. Well, hey, a couple more quick ones. But you talked about playing, going up against legendary competition and having defining moments, night in, night out. And definitely, what a lot of people would say were some of those defining moments for you were those epic slam dunk contests between you and Michael Jordan. You won in '85, and then in '87 in Chicago, 2 points. And I guess the question I have is, do you think that the Chicago home crowd, do you think that those 2 points?
It was always a little home cooking, anyway you play. But I use slam dunking as a tool for intimidation. It really wasn't who I was, but because they had dunks that was very dramatic, or everybody thought I dunked every basket. And I tell people all the time, it's hard to score 26,000 points on dunks.
Yeah.
So I found creative ways to score. Went to the free throw line, had an in-between mid-range game, like a shoot three at the post up, all these different things. I'm only dunked maybe twice a game on average.
So because of highlight films and all that stuff, that's what people remember.
Dominique, 2-time slam dunk winner.
Right.
Like, I did other things, But it was fine. It's something that people love to watch, and that's fine. I tried to entertain people, but it was, for me, it was a tool that I used. It wasn't who I was.
Gotcha. And I guess, quick question about the area. You played for UGA for 3 years, and played for the Atlanta Hawks for so long. So you've been a part of the Georgia, community for a long time. And what does this community mean to you?
Oh, it means everything. I mean, even though I wasn't born and raised here, I feel like I'm from here. Because I've been here so long in the city of Atlanta, the fans just treated me like a native son. And so it's a very, very important city to me.
Now, one more question about that. One of the biggest differences between today's guys and in the NBA and not that long ago is how early they go into the NBA. And even now with the new rule where you have to be in school for a year, a lot of them still go after 1 year. And you stayed for 3 years, which I think is how long Jordan and
it was just hard. It was hard to come out of high school in my era. I came out probably the greatest high school class in history, and not one that closed out of high school. And that tells you how tough and physical the league. When you look at a guy like Carmelo Anthony, who I think is a super player, one of the best players in the league, he went a year or two in college. He got some seasoning, so when he came to the NBA, he was ready. And some guys are exceptions to the rule, like LeBron James and Kobe. They're exceptions to the rule because they were ready before they came to the league. Someone prepared them guys to be ready to play in the league. So not many guys can do that.
Are you a fan of guys staying longer and getting more,
Well, yeah, I'm a fan of some guys staying longer. It depends on the guy, because some kids come out early and never make it, or they might stay 2 or 3 years in the NBA and you never hear from them again. So I think those kids get lost in the show. But the exceptional ones, like the Kobe, like the LeBron James and guys like that, Tracy McGrady, those guys are exceptions to the rule.
All right. Well, thank you for answering my questions.
We got one more thing. We have a surprise for Dominique. that you
All
guys
right. You kind of guessed it already, but on behalf of HP and Microsoft, we wanted to give you the
Oh, but thank
new
you.
Windows 7 laptop. Pavilion.
Hey.
Thank you.
Let me get a
Thank you
picture
for
if you
coming.
don't mind.
Oh,
Get a-
no question.
You guys do the check presentation type deal. Go
Okay.
ahead, lean in
Computer
there.
thing, right?
All right, I guess I'll squat down here.
It's a nice computer.
Yeah, it's very